Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our corporate immigration series on Africa. I'm Andreas. I'm a senior director for Africa and Europe at IBM Immigration Solutions, and we're part of Envoy Global. Today, I am joined by my dear colleague, Melissa.
Hi, thank you, Andreas. I'm Melissa Moses, and I'm a senior immigration consultant at IBM Immigration Solutions, a company of Envoy Global.
And today, we actually focusing on Mozambique, but not on the whole immigration system Mozambique, because that's really complex. Today, we're actually only focusing on short-term visas or work permissions, because obviously Mozambique has one of the very largest gas findings in the world. And we think that the huge project of Total is soon kicking off. So we thought we inform the outside world how it really works. So, Melissa, from an immigration perspective, what makes distinction when it comes to the short-term work visas? How does it work?
So I think what makes a distinction and how it works is basically, for larger projects, you need to send your foreign nationals or your expats into country for a specific period of time, right? And typically, especially in oil and gas, it's rotational, right? So in this aspect, we would obviously recommend the short-term work permit because it is issued typically in line with rotations for companies, and it's actually issued for up to 90 days at a time, and typically the rotations are much shorter. What I do, however, want to flag quite early on is that in the past, we had clients who would think that a business visa would be sufficient in terms of going in country to work on these projects, but in fact it is not. You would have to obtain a short-term work permit and a work visa in order to be legally compliant, even for short-term projects.
And where do you obtain the visa? Because the visa obviously brings you into the country. The work permission is obviously once you're there, right? But where do you apply for the visa?
So the visa has to be applied for at the Mozambican consulate in your country of origin or country of residence. And maybe just to give you a little bit of an idea of how it works, the work permit has to be applied for in country first, specifically in the region you are conducting the work in. And once that has been issued, you can then apply for the visa.
Okay, so that first. And does that approval form part of the visa application or not really?
No, it definitely does. So
Okay.
the work permit actually, once it's issued, forms the most important document for the work visa application.
Okay, so the employers who want to transfer large amounts of staff in, they first approach us. We assist with the work permission or the work permission side once it's issued from labor, because that's labor, right?
Correct.
Then obviously the visa application is applicable, and it's not a business visa, which has very little requirements compared to the work visa. And I think that's where practically, in particular our dear fellow South African companies, they tend to enter on business visas. Okay. And then costing. Is Mozambique expensive? Oil and gas is not cheap, right?
So no, oil and gas is not cheap, but it all depends on what the minimum wage is for oil and gas. And that changes every year in April, actually.
Okay, so they changed it by legislation, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And in oil and gas, they issued for 180 days or 90 days?
So it can be issued for up to 180 days. Typically, clients, depending on how their rotation works, would possibly do 90 days first and then another breakdown of 90 days later on, or they would apply for the full 180 days. But this is also per calendar year. So once your 180 days are used up, then you'd need to look at other alternatives.
Okay, so it's per calendar year.
Correct.
And that's the crucial thing,
Yes.
I think. So you can play around with it depending on when the project starts, but that's per calendar year.
That's correct.
Any other red flags you want to share? Anything you want to tell the audience what they shouldn't do or should do?
So I would say, please do not go to Mozambique on a business visa, especially if you are working on larger projects, even smaller projects, because Mozambique is one of the countries that actually do go and do site inspections.
A lot.
And these site inspections, if you are on the incorrect visa, could actually cost the company quite a bit of money. Deportation is also an option, and then there are massive project delays for your company and also larger costs because of the deportation fees and fines.
And I think especially for the, let's say, the suppliers of Total, that's the crucial thing, right? Because the very large ones, they might have extra rules for their project, but I mean, not all the sub-providers of the sub-providers fall into it. So if you're one of them, you should really watch this video again, probably.